Okay, so let's start with the first question. Obviously about kicking blood. Um, I think my our viewers would be interested to know how much, if any, backstory did you get for Anna, and how much did you make for her?
Yeah, there wasn't too much backstory uh, that was given to me. Whatever was in the script was what I got, which was barely anything. Um, in terms of creating my own backstory, I think something that was interesting about this character was that she's been around for centuries and centuries, that she doesn't necessarily remember her own backstory. And at this point in her long lived life, um, it doesn't really matter. She's just surviving day to day.
Okay, thank you. So I was just wondering about this. Um, Obviously, you could remember a while, so you remember probably back to the early 2000s, where vampires were the rage. You couldn't get away from them. So did you have any hesitation when you got a script that said, "Oh, it's about vampires"? Did you think, I don't know if I want to jump on that?
No hesitation whatsoever. I think growing up surrounded by film and TV that portrayed vampires, how they did in the 2000s and the 90s, I was pumped. That being said, this is a very different depiction of vampires. But no, there was no hesitation on my part. I thought that it'd be really interesting and fun to play a vampire because I grew up watching vampire shows and movies as a kid.
Okay, that's interesting. Um, Something I tried to sort of get to figure out during the film about them is, obviously, other than the sort of high effect of feeding, what sort of vampire powers or not powers do they have? Obviously, they have the sensitivity to the sun. I was wondering if you thought about that, if the writers directors gave any insight into that.
Yeah, I think that in terms of the rules surrounding vampires in this world, there were very few solid rules. One being you need blood to survive, and
Mhm.
you can't go out in the sunlight, otherwise, you will die. Apart from those two rules, everything was sort of left up to the imagination of the actor or the audience.
Mhm.
So yeah, definitively, those were the only two rules that I think were absolutely established before making the movie.
Okay, thank you. That's because whenever I see these sorts of open-ended defenses, I always want just a little bit more context. How long has sort of Alana been separated from the other two? Because obviously we see that she has a job, so I assume that she's been working there for a while, but probably not long enough that her appearance would be noted by everyone. So how long have they sort of been in this sort of weird thing with her, with the rest of her covenant pack?
Do you mean interacting with the human world for her and her pack? Sorry, what's the
I was just thinking of when she sort of split, because you can see the split, and you can see, for instance, that she
right?
has her own home that they can't enter. I was just wondering when, sort of, your thoughts of when that split happened.
Right. I think it's been a while. I think that slowly over time, Anna probably decided that she wanted a little bit more out of life and not to just party and feed with her
Mhm.
crew, which is why she sought out a job of her own. This has probably been happening for years and years and years that she sort of developed her own routine apart from the vampires.
Mhm.
And I guess slowly over time drifted further and further away from that lifestyle and more into the, I guess, human lifestyle. And her curiosity really, when the movie starts, her curiosity is piqued even further by humans, whereas the other two could give a shit.
Yeah, yeah, we can see this sort of the difference. Um, and so what? Sort of one more question on that sort of thing. The birthday party. Does she remember her birthday, or did she just choose that one?
Good question. I think it's sort of an arbitrary day because, you know, she has to blend into
Yeah.
the human world. And so, in order to do that, you know, she has to know her own age and give a date. But what that date is, I have no idea. It was just sort of an arbitrary day. But yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I actually didn't consider that birthday party, and she got to pick her own birthday.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea. You can have it, you know, you might have it, you know, perfectly in the middle of the year, you know, just for
I
that best
personally
gift.
have one of the worst timed birthdays. I'm right in between Christmas and New Year's, and so I have that dead period of a birthday. So I would not choose that one.
Okay. I'll just give a little insight into what Anna sees in Robbie's struggle, because obviously it is, as you say, it is curiosity. But I think I know after letting him stay with her and as him sort of becoming more of a thing, what does she think when for instance, when she sees him detoxing?
I think that when they first meet and he's willing and ready to die, it's the most interesting thing to her because humans usually run away from death and mortality,
Mhm.
and she sees Robbie, who is just willing to give it all up, which piques her curiosity. And then when he decides to get sober, that's even more curious to her because Robbie has this thing that will make him feel better, that will, you know, end suffering if he goes towards the metaphorical warmth, being alcohol. And so him refusing to, you know, sit in that seemingly comfortable spot of being an addict and being an alcoholic and wanting to rid himself of that lifestyle, I think is really curious to her, and it makes her reflect on her own life and her own addiction and what being human really means. Because when they both meet each other for different reasons, neither of them are human. They're at the, you know, rock bottom. They're at rock bottom, and I think that similarity is intriguing to her.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so obviously I'm aware of your career, and another thing that I saw you on, in fact, sort of the thing that led me on the road that got me sort of involved in watching this, reviewing this, was seeing you starring in Enhanced. So I just wondered so how that project came around, because I thought it was an excellent film. It sort of came out of nowhere, and I wasn't sure what to see, but I thought it was amazing. Sort of fun ride.
Oh yeah. Enhanced truly came out of nowhere. I went through the regular steps of auditioning for the project, and obviously it's an action movie, and I had never done an action movie before. I'm not a trained fighter
I was
for
going to
martial
ask about that, yeah.
Yeah, not at all. So it was fast and furious. I had about a week to learn all of the stunts and the routines, the fighting choreography, and thankfully picked it up pretty quickly. But that was, yeah, doing that movie was a trip. It was incredible working with all of the stunt women and men because they've been in the stunt industry in Toronto, not just Toronto, in Canada, America. They toured internationally, so having my first taste of stunt choreography for film with them was incredible. Yeah, it was incredible. I haven't thought about that movie in a while. That was a while ago, but it was, yeah, it was a great time.
That was a great film. I remember. I think I watched it and I was sort of sitting down to review it, and then I realized, oh, it's part of like a universe. And there's another film that I've got to eventually try and find to watch. Yeah, it's an excellent film. I thought you were excellent in it. It did look a bit cold though. That last fight scene. I thought, ooh, how many takes did that take?
Yeah, yes, a lot of takes, but they are so efficient the way that they film fight choreography. Usually, you do it from the top of the choreography
Mm-hmm.
and run through the entire thing. But in order to not exhaust the actors and exhaust the stunt people, they do excerpts and they plan out every single shot. So it's a lot more manageable than other stunt choreographers make it. They made it very easy.
Okay. So, bit of a change of pace here. There's a recent article that we did because the Heritage Minister is currently putting through some bills for Parliament that would seek to define what is Canadian film and TV in terms of then say to things like streamers, you need to bring in this much content to support local filmmakers. So, what would you think, or what would you say is the definition of Canadian film and TV?
I don't think you can define it. I think because there's so many, especially in Toronto filmmakers and Toronto film and television, it's a melting pot of cultures.
Mm-hmm.
And so to define Canadian film and TV, I think it's whatever Canadian writers and directors and producers want to make. I don't think there's one definitive, quintessential Canadian product to be sold. I think it's just hearing voices of Canadians.
Okay. I think I agree there. Okay, so could not with you have an interview with you not mention Killjoys, where you played the lady in her sort of like second to last iteration. So what was that like? Because it's going to be interesting to join a show and join a character who's already been sort of around the areas of the show for like maybe half the season before you even got there. So what is that like?
Yeah. So I came in the very last season, and I guess throughout the entire series, the lady was the big bad of the show, but she took on different forms, and so I was her final form. But I sort of had to do a crash course in the show because I had to catch up on 4 seasons.
Yeah, you caught me probably thinking, yeah, I'm not sure.
What season was I on? Anyways, I had to catch up on all the previous seasons, which was sort of impossible to do. I didn't have the time to do it, so I sat down with the showrunner, and he sort of gave me the lay of the land and what the lady meant and who she was and what forms she had previously taken. But yeah, that coming in the final season, I'm glad I slipped in there. Very glad to have done it. But yeah, I had to do a little crash course in the show and especially in this character.
Okay. 5 seasons.
5. Okay, so I came in on the 5th. So I have 4 seasons to catch up on.
Okay. So one question I'm going to leave with you to think about while I ask you something else is that we ask everyone who comes on to name one Canadian film or TV series that had a big effect on them in whatever way, shape, or form. But I was looking through your IMDb, and I saw something, and I had to ask you about it. Tell us about the Prime Radicals.
Whoa, yeah. Prime Radicals was my first acting gig in Canada, and it was a show for TVO kids. I had no idea what I was doing. I was very young. I was still in, I think I just entered into high school, and we had just moved to Canada, and I auditioned for this show. I sort of knew what TVO Kids was, but essentially it was a math show to help kids math and try and you know, make math a little more enticing than it is in school, which I could have definitely used as a kid. So yeah, that was my first acting gig in Canada, and it propelled me to really take into consideration the fact that Canadians can work as actors, and it made me apply to university to study acting, and it sort of just snowballed from there.
That's great. Now I have to go find it on YouTube and check out a couple of episodes.
Enjoy.
Well, look, it looks interesting. So, I don't know if you have any projects you want to tell the viewers about coming up.
Yeah, so I'm currently back and forth from here to Winnipeg, here being Toronto, filming a mini series called Little Bird, and it's about the 1960 scoop, and we'll be finished filming in June, and release date for that is TBD. So far, one of the networks attached is APTN, and I assume they'll be announcing what other networks it'll be.
The Home with Tribal. Yeah, love that show.
Yeah, that's that'll be coming up. Hopefully released within a year or a year and a half, however long editing takes.
Okay. Well, again, thank you for joining us. And so I put to you the final question: what is the Canadian film or TV that had the biggest impact on you?
So I think I can only speak to what I know in terms of Canadian television.
Yes, it's about you. It's about how it affects you. So obviously something that you've watched.
Yeah. Yes. So I think one of my first acting jobs out of university was a show called Cardinal.
Oh yeah.
And it was truly a beautiful show. It was artistic, and it was through and through Canadian. Producers, actors, writers, directors were Canadian, except for the lead, Billy Campbell, but he's honorary Canadian. And it really made me believe in Canadian television because, you know, there's a stereotype that Canadian talent and Canadian TV and film is subpar to our American neighbors, which is absolutely not true. And
indeed, so, that's why I made the site. It's all about Canadian TV shows.
And thank you, film. Yeah, because there's so much to be seen and so much talent, and it was the first project that I was a part of that I would have watched had I not been a part of it. So that was really neat, and yeah, to top it off, it was absolutely Canadian, filmed in North Bay with Canadian crew and actors and writers and directors and producers. So yeah, I'm super proud of that show and proud that it is a Canadian television show.
Excellent. Well, I have heard of it and I haven't been able to sort of access it, but that's great. And thank you very much for joining us.